Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday afternoon, November the 4th. A very active weather pattern going forward for the next week or so. It looks like it will include a powerful wind event tomorrow night. Let's say from the northern mid-Atlantic region up across the northeast U.S. into the New England area. There could be some wind gusts up to 50 or 60 miles per hour or so associated with a pretty strong low pressure system that will be riding along a cold frontal boundary zone. And looking ahead, we have a real Arctic blast coming for the eastern U.S. during the early part of next week. The leading edge of that Arctic air will be a strong cold front that arrives in the mid-Atlantic, the northeast U.S. on Sunday night. It passes through in the overnight hours on Sunday and ushers in the coldest air of the season so far for Monday and Tuesday, not only in the mid-Atlantic and northeast U.S., but all the way down to the southeastern states, including Florida, where we'll see in a moment here temperatures will be well below normal. We're talking about next Monday or Tuesday. Many areas of the mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S., will experience the first hard freeze of the season so far, with temperatures potentially well below the freezing point. And snow is certainly on the table from the Great Lakes to the interior sections of the mid-Atlantic, the northeast U.S., all the way up to northern New England early next week. First of all, let's take a look here at the very latest high resolution forecast model, the HRRR from NOAA. This is the 12Z run, hot off the press here. We're looking at the maximum wind gusts tomorrow night, right in the middle of the night, associated with this developing low pressure system and strong cold front. You'll see some areas here with 60 plus mile per hour wind gusts right here. See a 66 on the map. Again, this is using a high resolution forecast map, and you see 40 plus miles per hour all the way down into the Delmarva, the southeastern part of PA. So again, it looks like a high wind event is in the offing for I would say the northern mid-Atlantic region, northward and eastward up across northeast U.S. and into New England. Again, this is for later on tomorrow night into the early morning hours on Thursday, all associated with a intensifying low pressure area that comes in along a strong cold frontal system. Now, just a quick snapshot ahead to a week from right now. This is the 2-meter temperature anomaly forecast map from last night's run of the European model. This is for next Tuesday morning, November the 11th. Look at these temperatures throughout the eastern states and all the way down into Florida. In some cases, more than 20 degrees below normal, including all the way down into Florida. Again, this is next Tuesday, a true Arctic blast. We'll see in a moment here that this air mass originates way up near the polar region here, the Arctic region for sure. It drives all the way southward through Canada and then into the eastern half of the nation. Big impacts in terms of temperatures for Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday, and it looks like there'll be kind of a follow-up cold air mass moving into the same part of the country later next week. So what a few days ago looked like could be kind of a warmer overall weather pattern next week across the eastern states doesn't look like that anymore. Certainly the coldest air of the season so far coming for that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time period, and it looks like there'll be a reinforcing shot of cold air, at least from the mid-Atlantic region to the northeast U.S. later next week. Now let's walk through the very latest run of the Canadian model. I think it has a pretty good handle on things as compared with, let's say, the GFS here. Again, this is the 12Z Canadian model run. We're hot off the presses. We're starting off with a look at the 500 millibar field here, the height anomaly field here going forward now into, this is Wednesday morning and then Wednesday evening, and here is kind of a vigorous upper level low here diving south and east across the Great Lakes, and it's intensifying as it approaches New England in the middle of the night tomorrow night. And this is the support aloft for a what looks like a powerful wind event here, again from the mid-Atlantic region all the way northeast to New England later on tomorrow night, with some areas seeing 60 plus mile per hour wind gusts. Whenever you see those kind of numbers, you have to mention, unfortunately, the possibility of some power outages. Now we'll quickly move forward here, and we have another frontal system sliding south and east. By the end of the work week here, it'll be situated over the Great Lakes on Friday evening, and then kind of swings through the eastern states by the weekend, and will have little impact on temperature, any kind of temperature change for Saturday and Sunday. It looks like hardly noticeable frontal passage on Friday night. But then we get into the end of the upcoming weekend, and here we go. Sunday morning, you have kind of a dual upper level low pressure area. One piece centered over the Midwest, another over the western Great Lakes, and it's quite interesting how this evolves here. By Sunday night, you have a pretty powerful upper level low here situated over the upper part of the Midwest, and then it slides to the east here. By the time we get to Monday, the cold air has arrived by this particular time. This is after the frontal passage, which should take place sometime Sunday night across the eastern seaboard, and then into the day on Monday. Very, very large-scale upper-level trough, pretty much centered over southeastern Canada and the eastern U.S. Again, this cold air mass, this Arctic air mass, will make its way all the way down into the southeastern states, and that includes Florida. Now, one thing we'll have to watch over the next few days, let me back up a little bit. If this upper level feature can dive a little bit farther to the south and east before it starts to make that turn, things could get really interesting in the northeastern states in terms of the potential for some snow. As it stands right now, I do believe certainly, though, could be some snow across the Great Lakes, a lake effect type of snow, if you will, following the passage of that frontal system, and certainly interior sections, especially interior higher elevation locations of the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S., and New England can get some snowfall out of this transition to the Arctic air early next week. We'll go out a little bit farther in time, all the way out to a week from right now. Still a big-time feature across the northeastern part of the nation next Tuesday, November the 11th. Now, I wanted to put out the kind of the broader view here of North America when looking at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. Again, this is using the very latest run of the Canadian model from 12Z this morning here. Notice up here the colder than normal conditions up across Greenland right here in the northern part of Canada. Now we'll just walk through this slowly here and kind of can see a piece of this cold air mass here. This is the North Pole right there. That little area right there is the North Pole. So we're talking about air that is originating over the North Pole, and that is driving to the south here. We'll see, again, kind of focus on this little area below normal, and it just kind of gets involved with the overall colder than normal air mass here. Now, this is by the end of the work week here on Friday, and here it comes diving to the south here, south at this particular time. Now, sometimes air masses, especially this time of the year, can be slightly below normal over Canada, but by the time they reach the eastern states, it can be well below normal. That certainly is a natural event here. We're seeing slightly below normal, but watch what happens here as we go into the upcoming weekend and the early part of next week. Again, that kind of rotates around and dives all the way to the south by Sunday morning here, and eventually that pushes all the way to the south and east throughout the eastern states. And some of this is 20 degrees below normal for the 10th of November. That is impressive in Arctic blasts. And again, it really originates right up in this area, the northern part of Canada. Greenland kind of dives to the south and then spreads to the south and east all the way to the state of Florida by the time we get to 1 week from right now, next Tuesday. And here it is, a very impressive Arctic blast for early next week. Now let's walk through the surface forecast maps, again using the very latest run of the GFS model here. Here is early this afternoon here on Tuesday, November the 4th, high pressure in control, and we'll move forward into the day on Wednesday. And here's that low pressure area with a strong frontal boundary zone right in here and right here. This intensifies along this frontal boundary zone as we get into the latter part of the day on Wednesday into tomorrow night. Look at that, a 996 low by early tomorrow evening, and it moves to the east here, and this pressure gradient between this departing strong low and this incoming high is quite tight indeed, right in this area right here. And that is where you will start to see some northwest wind gusts, probably past 60 miles per hour in some spots. Again, a high wind event, a powerful wind event in the offing here from the northern half of the Mid-Atlantic region all the way across the northeastern states into New England later on tomorrow night. There will be some snow and rain associated with this incoming cold air up across the northeastern states. But the bigger story will be those winds. Again, watch out for possibility of some power outages. Then we go through the day on Thursday, and another cold frontal system slides east by late Friday night, early Saturday morning. It's kind of losing its punch as it reaches the east coast. So maybe some showers, but not a heavy rain event, and certainly not a noticeable change in temperatures behind that front. Temperatures on Saturday, for example, and Sunday likely to be in the low to mid 60s in some parts of the I-95 corridor region from D.C. to Baltimore to Philadelphia to New York City on the backside of that very weak frontal system on Friday night. But then by the time you get to late Sunday, here's where it gets very interesting here. We have an intensifying low over the Great Lakes midday on Sunday, and an Arctic blast of air on its heels here behind this frontal boundary zone right in this area right here. So we'll move forward in time here, and that slides to the north and east, and that Arctic air just plunges all the way to the south and east. Certainly can be some snow associated with that incoming Arctic blast. We go into the day on Monday, and this certainly looks to me like a signal for turning on the Great Lakes snow machine here. There can be some lake effect snows. You're seeing these kind of bands on the Canadian model. I think it has a good handle on the situation. Remember, this time of the year, those Great Lake water temperatures are still pretty warm relative to what they'll be in a month or two, and that adds some buoyancy when you get Arctic air moving over the still relatively warm waters of the Great Lakes. Watch out. You can get some heavy snow bands. The first of the season, kind of a Great Lakes snow event in the offing for the early part of next week. Again, this is a forecast map for midday on Monday. We'll go a little bit farther in time and just take a look at these streamers here. Again, I think the Canadian model has this handled quite well. These are lake effect snow bands here setting up here for later Monday into Monday night. And here we go all the way into the morning on Tuesday, 1 week from right now. And this cold air has moved all the way into the state of Florida. And again, much of the eastern half of the nation will experience the coldest air of the season so far next Monday and Tuesday. And the colder than normal conditions will extend into the middle part of the week as well. And again, certainly there can be some snow with this transition to the Arctic air mass early next week, especially across the Great Lakes, but in interior higher elevation locations of the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S., and New England can experience some snowfall as well during the early part of next week. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.